Hello, everybody. We're here today with Andrew LaMonica, and we're going to be talking a little bit about Andrew having as one of our keynote speakers at our biggest event of the year, UX Live. It's part of Product Design Week. It's going to be absolutely awesome. So I'm going to quickly just give you some more information about these events and what they're about, and then we're going to dive straight into the interview with Andrew. So going to be one of our keynote speakers at our biggest event in history, which is the Product Design Week. We have around about 2,000 to 3,000 people turning up for this event. It's going to be 5 days. There's going to be different days and different conferences spread throughout London at different levels. So I'm going to dive now into our interview with Andrew. So Andrew, how are you doing to start off with?
I'm living the dream, man. I'm over here stateside, so I got my hot beverage this morning. The kids are all at school. Everything's good.
And whereabouts in the States are you based?
I'm right outside Manhattan. I'm in Jersey.
Oh, New Jersey, wicked. And what I want to dive into today is because obviously you're speaking at some of our events coming up. I want to dive into a bit more about yourself,
Oh, sure.
and I want the audience to understand why we picked you as one of our top keynotes at one of our biggest events ever. And I also want to find out a bit more about what you're talking about and all that, so that we have some good idea about you before the event. So
Yeah, let's jump in.
let's jump in. So the first question that I wanted to know is just to tell us a little bit about yourself and where you are in your career now and where did you start?
Okay. Well, I'm a design executive. I work in design, product, brand, strategy, operations. Wear a lot of hats. I've been fortunate to work with and at some great companies. Continue to do thoughtful work. Like, so you can do some like loose Googling on me. CNBC did a show on me, my work. I led the rebrand of a Fortune 10, done strategy for a $42 billion company. I've also developed coaching programs for women and people of color that directly lead to promotions. So I got some fun stuff in my LinkedIn profile. Aside from my day job, I'm also a licensed executive coach. I have like letters after my name. I get to work with leaders and their teams to get in and solve the big, hairy problems. So I have a fun job.
That sounds really interesting. And so
Yeah.
how long have you been doing the consulting side of things?
Well, on and off, probably since I started my career. Like, so now we're over 2 decades now. So I've been doing this for a while.
Interesting. And do you prefer working for yourself or working for other companies when you've been doing it in your career? Just for those aspiring UXers that might want to take a step out of the corporate world and into more of the executive coaching roles in the future.
That is a good question, Luke, and something I actually get often. My answer to that's a little different. I think you should do whatever gives you the most opportunity to grow and learn.
Mm.
One of the things when I was at university and school, I actually got hired in university to start doing work. So all of a sudden, I had to make a company with an LLC and be licensed in order to do the work. And I got kind of forced into being a founder and business owner. I worked in house at a lot of places too, which are great learning opportunities for me. And I've also been able to do consulting and coaching at various levels. And when people come and ask me that question, my advice is always the same: do the thing that helps you grow exponentially. So that will help you most and set you up the best for your career.
Being self-employed comes with its own challenges, I guess, doesn't it? There's not so much security maybe at times. But one of the things I found, I obviously run Tech Circus, is that you are in control of your
Mhm.
situation. Whereas when you're working for somebody else, as you've seen recently in the market, you can get laid off at any point. You're someone
Yeah.
else's control. So I always found it quite reassuring that if I am going to get into trouble, at least I can see it coming and I know and I can predict it and I can somehow do some extra work or do something to change it.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's your thoughts on that?
I think it's interesting when I was at GE. Um, One of the things that I learned early on, guys had really good leadership and good managers, where they teach you how to see around corners. That was a term that they used. So you can kind of see where the business grows. You can kind of see where your role fits into things, and you're able to navigate your career with more security. Not that that's the be all and end all of things, but being able to understand what's going on in your organization helps you a lot with career longevity. Now, having your own business is great. You get to pick and choose the products and projects that you want to work on, but you're also at the whims of where those funding comes from, who's going to hire you, things like that. So those are all calculated risks that I think people have to make for themselves. It's also depending on where you want to be in life. I'm older. I got mortgages, I got kids, so security is something good for me. Whereas I talk to people who are just really excited about the VC space or doing a startup, and that's the thing that really lights them up, and that's great for them. So by being really clear about like what you want, what fulfills you, and also what's realistic for you, just makes your job a lot better.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's not for everybody. And I feel, in my own situation, if I was to advise people, would you go and set up an events company doing these tech events? I would say no, don't do it. It is absolute. Yeah, you're living in a constant crisis of trying to keep things going during pandemics, during in the UK, we've got the cost of living crisis. It is stressful, but there's some people that are like high endurance marathon runners that enjoy the pain of running a marathon. And I'm that equivalent in business. I enjoy somehow the pains and the challenges and the stresses of running something so difficult. And it gives me some sense of fulfillment. So I think you have to be a very specific type of person if you want to run certain types of businesses. And there's much more secure businesses, don't get me wrong, but coaching and being a consultant and whatnot. Again, I've never done that personally myself, but I imagine, it's slightly different from having to cover hundreds of thousands, if not millions of pounds of overheads for events and staff and whatnot.
It is. I think the insight that you're talking about too is a lot about diversifying your opportunities. People talk about that in finance too. Is just like diversify your portfolio, have options. So God forbid something happens, you're not stuck. The leaders that have a wide variety of background that can do a lot of things. They're not very specific focused leaders. Maybe, I know other people who also do coaching, who also lead teams, who have yoga practices and other things that keep them going when times are tough. So again, diversify how well you can make money and have your income. It's great.
Fantastic. It's really good to talk a bit in detail about. It's something I've always wanted to ask somebody like yourself and to get a bit more. And I know that a lot of the audience will be thinking about that and thinking, one day when I've got my 5-10 years worth of senior UX experience, should I take the jump and do something like this? And a lot of people at the moment are. So very interesting subject. Okay, so let's move on to your talks and what we're going to be talking about at UX Live.
Cool. So I'm going to be doing the closing keynote, I think, on Tuesday for simple strategies for complex roadmaps. Anyone who's familiar with the talks I give or the workshops, I'm very much about like usable techniques, tactical framework, stuff that you could do now, just to deliver good experiences. And the good thing about these frameworks is like they bring teams together and they allow your product to deliver value in a way that like your company can own. It's really interesting. Like a lot of leaders approach product roadmaps with the complexity of a NASA mission launch. And it's like I've done multi-year roadmaps at a few places now. And the ones that are successful is around the organization of the non-obvious. I'm going to talk a little bit about this during my talk. Now, the organization of the non-obvious, it's not new or novel. Like Marcus Aurelius and Seneca actually used to talk about this way back in the day. But the things that you aren't actually aware of, or maybe in the peripheries of your roadmap, are the things that's actually going to dictate how successful it is. Things like alignment, prioritization, the politics, how you're going to deal with unexpected things like a pandemic or labor strikes. Where are you focusing your attention so you can have the most success? And what are the areas that you can compete in and just completely own? So those things, like focusing on those aspects related to the product roadmap, will make it a ton more successful. So I'm going to cover a lot of those things during our time together.
So some people ask about UX Live and they say, what is UX Live, or who is UX Live for? And it's for anyone in UX. We have a variation of talks from research to design to leadership. So I'm taking it that your talk is more of aimed at the leaders or the potential future leaders, or is this going to be applicable to everybody no matter what level they're at?
Well, I try to make it applicable to everybody. I cast a wide net. So if you are a junior UX leader, you're going to find things of value. If you're an executive or C-suite, you're going to find things of value. So I try to make it as accessible as possible.
Amazing. Okay, yeah, they're the best type of talks, and I often find that the feedback that we get from people, it's the stuff they don't know about that they want to know about. So, you when you have your leadership talks, it's often the people that aren't leaders that really enjoy them because of it's a whole new world of
Sure.
possibilities that open up to them. And likewise, stuff like UX writing was really popular with our designers and researchers,
Mhm.
and we find that it's those areas that people don't know about sometimes also that is the most appealing to them. Okay, so what do you think makes a really good talk at a conference? And you've been speaking at quite a few talks before, but
Mhm.
what would you say personally makes a good talk at a conference?
I think, and something I try to do, I'm not always successful with this, but really make it resonate, excuse me, English, speak it much. Um, my goal is to impart value and make things resonate with the audience. At the end of the day, it's about them. Um, I have a wealth of experience, but conveying in a way that's actionable, that's accessible, and adds pretty quick value to them. That's what I strive for.
Fantastic. Yeah, it's really important. Like, I think the things that you outlined earlier about making practical things that people can do the next day at work,
Yeah.
that's something that, we often see is that some people come in with these trying to be overly smart and show their knowledge, but they don't think about the end user, the
Yeah.
person that's out sitting there in the seat, the attendee. What are they
Yeah.
going to get from the talk? They're going to get that you're really smart. Doesn't really matter to them. They need to have something to go back to their boss tomorrow and say, I'm going to use this in my job. So I think it's so important that, what you're saying there about it resonating with
Yeah.
the audience and for things that people can really take home and use the next day. And we try and do that as much as possible at the UX Live conference.
And you know
Um,
what's interesting? I'm sorry, I was going to plus one that real quick. Something I've seen a lot more in my career now is that people have different ways of learning. There's different modalities of how people receive information. Like, bad example. So I'm an Italian kid from New Jersey in the States, which means I talk fast and there's a ton of content. So whenever I give a keynote, here's how I turn that bug into a feature. Like, I just give my notes. So I usually put a link in there so they get like 14 pages of everything I just covered plus anything else that might come up. So it's a way of like, all right, cool. I'm talking on stage and there's a lot of information that I'm imparting to people, and some people take notes, some don't. But you also have notes which you can reference whenever you're more comfortable doing it. So I try to make it as accessible as possible. And also, like, people could follow up with me afterwards too. I'm very accessible on social media. People reach out to me and ask me questions or dig into things that I chat about. So yeah, just make it as easy for people as possible.
Fantastic. Thanks, Andy, for giving us all of this information today. It's been great interviewing you. Is there any closing parts that you want to disclose to the audience before we cut off?
Oh, sure. Well, what I love about your event and the work that you do is that you're very engaging with your audience. So if there are things like the audience wants to know, if there are burning questions they have about the industry or about some of the leaders or about some of the huge problems that they're facing, it could be influence through collaboration. It could be how to incorporate Figma into larger things, or how to work with design leadership at scale. Like, what are the questions you have? And we can incorporate them into the conference, into the talk. At the end of the day, like, this conference is here for you. So let us know, give us feedback. What are the things you need support with? And we'll do our best to support you with them.
Great. Let's get people commenting in the comments below.
Yeah.
I imagine this is being put out on social media. Let us know and we'll reply to you. Anything you feel that should be involved in these talks. And if you do come to UX Live, Andrew will be there. You'll be able to talk to him directly after his talk in the networking sessions.
I will
Um,
definitely be on that boat. I will be on the boat. I will probably have a Manhattan in my hand, and well, I want to talk to everybody. I will answer any questions until Luke throws me off the boat.
Yep. Yep. The good thing about the boat is that they are time limited because they have to go to the piers. So I think it's like 3 hours. Otherwise, nobody would ever leave the boat. Last time,
Awesome.
it's a hard stop, and that actually means people go to the conference the next day as well because they don't have. So yeah, thanks so much, Andrew. It's been great speaking to you. I can't wait to meet you in person.
I'm excited. I'm excited. Thank you, everybody. Take care.
Cheers then. Bye bye.